Hello, hello, hello. Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk coming live at you from the Southeast Iowa Sports Talk studios. I'm not sure if I can really say that because we have other shows here. But we're here with our first all-summer show of the year, of the world history, actually, because this is the first year doing the show. Wow, this is a special day. I'm here, as always, with my main man, Hunter Moeller, who's old two eyes himself without the glasses.
I like that.
Nick Steffens on the ones and twos. We still have his title up from the tournament. And we're going to talk a little summer sports today, which is fun. Mm-hmm. It's been a while since we didn't have a huge schedule of things because spring sports has so many sports. I'm just saying sports a lot. By the way, we are powered by Fairway Food Stores, and that's our title sponsor. But also check out the other businesses that help us out here on the little ticker thing below me. I almost got distracted by the ticker reading about Midwest Old Dressers.
You have us pulled up, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I have it pulled up as always. Oh, look at that. Tony Starr and Michael Welcher.
Yep.
Those are Tony Starr's got a couple kids on the softball team. Anyway, now I'm just talking about our sponsors randomly. But we're going to start today. We're going to go school by school, and we'll see how that works out because I like that a little better. And funny enough, we'll start with the team that we weren't physically at last night because you were in Fairfield and I was in Mount Pleasant. But a team that has had a really hot start, both softball and baseball. We'll start with softball. Washington Demon softball. They are 5-0 in the Southeast Conference.
Yeah, funny enough, the Demons are probably the youngest team that we cover and the youngest team in the conference, I'd say.
Yeah, one of them. Them and MP. Yeah,
and one of the best. Obviously, last year we saw them kind of their youthfulness kind of. We saw signs of how good they were going to be, and kind of really shown it off this year. After a doubleheader win last night, the Demons down Fort Madison twice, 10-7 and 16-4 in those two games. And now they are tied with number 9 Burlington, second in the conference, 5-0. Both of those teams 5-0, and the Demons are 10-4 overall. Last night, pretty good couple games of softball for Washington. In both games, Fort Madison held leads after the first inning. Fort Madison led 2-0, and then Washington went on to score in every inning after the first but one. They led. Well, actually, it was a 4-2 game after the third inning. Fort Madison leading, and then the Demons scored 8 to close out and pull out a 10-7 win there. And then in the second game, it was 4-1. Fort Madison after the first, and then the Demons once again scored in every inning, but the final 7th inning there, 4 in the second, 3rd in each the 3rd and the 4th frame there, and then 1 in the 5th and 4 in the 6th for that huge 16-4 win there. And shout out to Ella Greiner in that first game, something we don't see a lot. Greiner went 4 for 5, completed the cycle in the game, single, double, triple, and a home run along with 2 RBIs in that one. That first game as well. Leighton Salazar, Lauren Hendrickson both had a pair of hits. Haley Mitchell, Isabel Salazar, Colby Greiner, and Emery Walton had 1 hit. Salazar and Greiner each had 2 RBIs, and Mitchell finished with 1 RBI. Isabel Salazar took the win in the circle. Allowed 7 runs, 5 earned on 10 hits, 5 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Colby Greiner also pitched 1 inning, striking out 2. In that second game, Leighton Salazar, nice little game for her there, 4 for 5, fresh for the freshman there. Pair of RBIs, Lauren Hendrickson, 3 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Haley Mitchell, 2 for 4, 3 RBIs, team high in that one. Colby Greiner, 2 hits, 2 RBIs. Ella Greiner, 1 hit, 2 RBIs. Isabel Salazar had a hit and 1 RBI. And Emery Walton and Kendall Hendrickson each had a hit and 1 RBI. And Hallie Cuddleback took the win there, giving up 4 runs, 0 earned on 5 hits, 4 walks, and 1 strikeout. And as I mentioned, Demons 10-4, second in the SEC, well tied for first with the Greyhounds over there, who are ranked number 9 in 4A, as I mentioned. So looking forward to that series between those two teams because that should be a real good one.
Yeah, I think softball-wise, it's we knew that Burlington was bringing a lot back, and Fairfield was bringing a good amount back, and that Washington was that team where it was like, are the Demons going to be amongst the Giants in the SEC? I think their pitching has been impressive. Colby Greiner has been pretty big for them as far as getting a third arm. That's, I think, Washington's biggest asset is that their second pitcher in these doubleheaders isn't far off from their first pitcher. In fact, Cuddleback's probably had a little bit of a better year maybe this year. So usually in doubleheaders in baseball and softball, no matter who your number one is, whether you're pitching them first or second, you have one game where you're weak, and Washington does not have a game and those doubleheaders for the week, so they got a quality pitcher every time out. But it looks like Colby Griner must have came in the 7th in the final inning. The high-scoring game, the 10-7 game against Fort Madison. So, pretty clutch of her to come in. And, again, Ella Griner, I thought last year she was one of the kids that hit the ball the hardest. Yeah. Griner, we're seeing that name a ton in Washington sports. Aren't we? Wrestling, everything.
And Colby Griner, you mentioned her coming in. She did have a home run in that second game as well, though.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
A couple, let's see, Ella and Colby both had a bomb.
The second game there.
A couple RBIs there, and then Bella Salazar, she said, had a couple RBIs. So a strong start for the Demon Girls. You said Burlington's next week?
I didn't say exactly when it was, but...
I gotcha. I knew it's one of the big ones. It's Fairfield. It's actually Fairfield next week and then Burlington in a couple. I knew it was either Fairfield or Burlington. Yeah. So at Fairfield we can't look ahead because there's games on Thursday. In fact,
right.
Everybody plays. Whoever they just played on last night, they play on Thursday. But Fairfield versus Washington next week will be quite wild. Probably in baseball and softball. I'll talk a little bit about the Washington baseball team because that was a team where because of how many just because they didn't have a super great year last year and they lost a good amount of pitching. I did not think they'd be as good as they've been in SEC play. They split with Fort Madison last night. It was kind of a funny situation where both teams kind of gave one away because in game one, Fort Madison went to the final inning. They were up 5-3. Washington scores 3 runs in the 7th inning. And then in game two, the total opposite. Washington had a lead here of 5-1 after 2 innings. In fact, into the bottom of the 3rd when Fort Madison tied it and then went up with 4 runs in the bottom of the 4th. So Washington split with Fort Madison, and they went 2-1 against Mount Pleasant last week. They don't have stats from the Fort Madison game. I assume that Isaac Vetter pitched one of these games because that's kind of who was lined up here. But I was really impressed with the Washington baseball defense against Mount Pleasant. That was the key there. It was last week. It was a 4-1 win on Tuesday. That's why we didn't talk about those games last week because they were Tuesday, which is the day of sports talk. I was wondering why we didn't talk about the last week's games last week. They won 4-1, and then Mount Pleasant had a little comeback in game 2, but Washington won 9-8 in that. In both games, it was like every second inning you'd see the bases full of Panthers or runners on second and third or whatever, and it was a combination of the pitching, and then Washington's played some pretty darn good defense. We know that Ethan Patterson's one of the best defensive players, possibly the best defensive player that we cover big school-wise. He's basically a black hole over there at shortstop. Mason Morgan had a big game-ending double play in game 1, and then came in and relief in game 2 and helped out there. So, and the outfield is pretty quick. So I think Washington's got a little more chops than I would have guessed based on the end of last year. Mm-hmm. So they're 3-2. They're right there with Mount Pleasant, who we'll talk about here in like 5 seconds. Tied in second place, and it seems like they might be more in the race than I probably would have given them credit for at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and I feel like speaking to the race, obviously, I feel like it's a lot tighter. A lot tighter this year. Obviously, Fairfield's improved a lot. This go around. Obviously, a lot of those kids from last year, they didn't lose a whole lot from last year's team. I remember Brad Smithburg was pretty big for them last year, but they got a lot of younger kids stepping up this season. So we'll get to Fairfield as well there, but really, looking at it. Obviously Burlington's 5-0 right now. Still looking for someone to knock them off. Mount Pleasant, as you mentioned, that second spot's pretty much up for grabs, especially
it is
when we get to like Fairfield playing Washington and Mount Pleasant in the swing of things too. So it's going to be an interesting race once again, and especially if anybody can get on top of Burlington there.
Yeah. By the way, if you're looking on Varsity Bound at the baseball standings, they're off on Varsity Bound. They say that Washington is 3-3 in the conference, which is both factually and mathematically incorrect because they're 3-2, so they're tied with Mount Pleasant in second place. Sometimes Varsity Bounds accidentally puts a conference tag on one of the other games, and so if you're looking at the standings right now, it says Burlington and then Mount Pleasant 2, Washington 3. Really, Mount Pleasant, Washington are tied at 2. But speaking of the Panthers, I got to watch a little Panther baseball last night, and that was a team that had kind of a rocky start there, especially going into that doubleheader against Washington. I should say well, I'll say it now, that they went 0-2 at Washington on Tuesday, turned right back around on Thursday, and on Thursday picked up a 9-5 win over Washington, and then last night they looked really good against Keokuk, 11-1 in Game 1 and 8-2 in Game 2, and that's a Keokuk team that stuck with that Burlington team the previous week. So Mount Pleasant sophomore J.C. Sitar had what turned out to be the game-winning hit, the go-ahead hit yesterday, a 2-out, 2 RBI triple in the, I believe that was in the 5th inning. And what's significant about that is that on Thursday, he had the game-winning RBI in the bottom of the 6th inning against Washington. So 2 straight games, he's had the game winner for the Panthers. Payson Coleman was 2 for 4 in that opening game. He's 2 for 3. Sorry, he's just fast. He's a kid who can get a lot of bunt singles. So it's a pretty speedy family, I know.
Yep.
And a couple RBIs from Peyton Higgins, and then an RBI each from Zarek Vanghouse, Jake Insminger, and Peyton Walker. Insminger started that game, 4 innings, strikes out 6, and only gives up 1 earned run. And then in Game 2, which was the game where Sitar had that go-ahead triple, the Panthers actually had 2.5 triples on the day, because both Sitar and Carter Amos both had a real triple, and then Sitar had a triple that was taken away. They didn't tell him it was foul until he'd already hustled around at third base. So it's kind of a funny situation where the dugout knew it was foul, and they watched him, run all the way around the bases.
State track. I don't know why I said that, but
yeah, exactly. But Carter Amos 2 for 4 with a triple and 3 RBIs for the Panthers in that one. Sitar went 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Insminger drives 1 in, and then the Panther baseball team did kind of something fun yesterday. You know how MLB is starting to some teams will do what's called a starter instead of an opener. Instead of a closer where you just pitch 1 inning. Mount Pleasant did that a little bit last night. Peyton Walker started, even though Zarek Vanghouse was the guy who was slated to pitch. Coach Broker said that Vanghouse is just a little different in the first inning than he is later on in the game. So they had a starter. Walker did fine, gave up 1, and then they brought in Vanghouse, and he ended up getting the win.
Nice.
4 innings. So
interesting.
Yeah, it was the first time I've seen that in high school, whether you were you.
Yeah, I've never seen that. Usually the starter just throws, if he's doing well and stays in but.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's kind of like the opposite of a closer. I kind of get it. You want to have in the MLB, you do it with a real hard, basically a relief pitcher that goes and throws power and then
Mount
gets
Pleasant
to start.
I would say Mount Pleasant on the baseball side has probably one of the more deeper bullpens, I would probably say.
They have a good amount of arms.
Looking at, some of the other teams, obviously Fairfield got a couple guys that can sling it back there, but Mount Pleasant's got some good pitching.
Peyton Higgins comes in relief. He's not really a starter. I'm not sure, he maybe got 1 or 2 starts last year. And so he comes in, he's a closer, but really closed out the last 2 or 3 innings, whatever they need from him. He throws really hard. So that's kind of a good they have a pretty good system with the pitchers this year.
Ben Newton's a pitcher too.
Ben Newton will probably pitch on Thursday. That's something with Mount Pleasant, Washington, the last couple of years, that was something they both struggled with was the depth in pitching.
Yep.
And so you'd see games, especially when they played each other, that would get out of hand as far as opposing teams' runs. And I think that Mount Pleasant definitely has got a little figured out here with their rotation. And then on the other side last night, Mount Pleasant softball team.
Some big wins.
Yep, they had only gotten
big win.
Yeah, big. Well, Mount Pleasant only won 3 games the whole last year, and they have now won 3 games in 11 tries here early. Game 1 yesterday against Keokuk. It was, Coach Beeson kind of had said a couple days before that might be one where Mount Pleasant could get a little confidence. Not a great start. Went down 4-0. But then it was pretty much all Panthers in Game 1 from there. 3 runs in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third. And then they scored 7 total between the 5th and the 6th to win that one, 12-6. One player that I'm very impressed with this year, who had a slow start last year for the Panther softball team, just connecting with the ball, is Addison Clark, best name in the game because of the Wrigley Field streets. She went 3 for 4 with a triple, a double, and 5 RBIs in that first game. And then a couple RBIs each for Jaden Hausch and Emma Starr, couple of the Panther upperclassmen, and Jolyn Martin, who's an 8th grader that pitches for Mount Pleasant. She's kind of risen up already to be their top pitcher. She threw all 7 innings, gave up 6 runs, only 1 earned.
Wow.
And struck out 9. So now that 6 runs, 1 earned, that was a little bit of foreshadowing towards a game 2, though, because Mount Pleasant defense didn't have their best in game 2. A lot of errors, and it was a 13-10 win for Keokuk. Mount Pleasant came back from down 10-2, 7-0 and 10-2 to make it interesting. In fact, they had a runner on with Clark up to bat in the bottom of the 7th with 1 out, and it was a line drive, one of those unlucky line drive double plays. Great play by the Keokuk shortstop. So, so Panthers lost that one. Just a couple quick stats from there. This time, Jaden Hausch has the 5 RBIs. Emma Starr and Ella McNamee had 2 RBIs apiece, and then Ty Alter and Maya Starr took turns pitching. Another funny little pitching thing. Alter started, Starr relieved, and then they flipped Alter back in. So there were a couple of funny little pitching deals with the Mount Pleasant games last night. So you haven't seen Mount Pleasant softball, have you?
Yeah, I saw him first game.
Oh, you saw him. You saw him win.
Yep.
You saw him win against Holy Trinity.
Yep. And Mount Pleasant, another kind of team we talk about the youthfulness. Only obviously 3 seniors, 2 juniors, and the rest is underclassmen, and a lot of freshmen.
Yeah, a lot of freshmen
playing, stepping up and playing. So, they're playing well here in the early season, and I know it feels good for them to get another win there.
I think it's interesting with when Mount Pleasant was playing Washington, I looked at the roster and I was like, well, 2 years from now, this is going to be basically almost the exact same lineups because they're all sophomores and under.
We'll be talking about them being underclassmen, and soon it'll be like, they've got a load of upperclassmen.
Yeah, these kids have been playing forever. That's how it usually kind of goes. So quick, I guess we could do that. Here, I'll look at the softball standings real quick, and then we'll talk about Fairfield after the break. But let's see, Burlington now 5-0, right? So they're leading both. Yep. Washington 5-0. As we mentioned, Fairfield 3-2. So that's a little teaser into the Trojans. So we're going to take a little 2-minute break. Talk about some Fairfield baseball and softball. Hunter was there last night.
Yep.
And in Burlington. That's right. He wasn't in Fairfield because they're in Burlington. So we will see you in 2 minutes.
Federation Bank is a locally owned bank providing award-winning customer service. We believe that we are more than just a federation of banks, but a federation of communities, serving Brighton, Richland, Wellman, Washington, Iowa. Federation Bank's highly skilled staff is here to make sure you are able to accomplish your personal and professional goals, whatever they may be. Federation Bank, your family bank.
Hospice isn't a place, it's a type of care that focuses on living. Servicing a 7-county area, the Hospice of Washington County staff of nurses, social work, hospice aides, spiritual and grief support, volunteers, music and massage therapists are able to provide free end-of-life care where the patient lives. We write wills, give consent for organ donation, but rarely is there a plan for what we would want the final phase of our lives. At Hospice of Washington County, we encourage our patients to be in charge of their healthcare decisions while maintaining quality of life.
Unbelievable amount of devastation. I've never seen anything like it.
We had a beautiful barn that was gone in 20 minutes.
Farm Bureau stepped up right away and said, hey, we got you and we'll be there for you.
We were taken care of. Now we could get on to repairing and rebuilding.
I tell everybody about Farm Bureau.
We're fortunate to say we have good coverage with good people doing it.
Contact Farm Bureau agents Tony Starr and Mike Welcher in Mount Pleasant today.
Tammy takes the time and has the personal interest in each one of us. I don't worry about what's going to happen because I know my policy is taken care of.
She pulls what I need and puts it together, which is the program I get from her.
Every year she calls around September or so and says, there's changes again, and I'm going to do the best thing for you. It's been perfect. She does a great job.
At the Capper Auto Group, we put our customers' needs first and understand that everyone is as different as the vehicle they select. We offer new Ford, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram vehicles in a friendly environment that puts you in the driver's seat. When it comes to service, we maintain factory-trained technicians and competitive pricing. The Capper Auto Group still believes that service after the sale provides the best customer experience. Come see the Capper experience for yourself.
When you aspire to be a dancer, you are both an artist and an athlete. Your strength combines with beauty and grace seamlessly. Your efforts result in enhanced coordination, the ability to cooperate and compromise with others, and the confidence to perform in front of an audience. Not to mention the fun you will have and the lifelong friendships you will develop. We are enrolling now for fall classes, and we would love to see you shine like the star that you are. Join us for dance and tumbling at Stairway to the Stars. Please visit our website for online registration.
Welcome back, Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk, powered by Hunter
Fairway
Food Stores. That was a really clean transition back into the show after I couldn't get my cap on my drink like a half second before we went on. We are here talking a little summer sports. Again, we're powered by Fairway, but I also didn't say that we are on Washington Live's Facebook and YouTube, Mount Pleasant and Fairfield Live's Facebook. And we're also on Spotify. Washington Live. I used to say that was so much more
you can catch us on Washington Live.
I used to say that was so much more passion. Now I just repeat the same line. It's like, we got to go to a new platform by the next month. We got to add one. I'll figure out a way. Yeah, we'll be on Twitch. Do they even have it still? They probably still do Twitch. Oh, no, I was thinking of Periscope. Of course they still do Twitch. Yeah. Our Twitter is @Union Sports Page. You can watch this live because we pin it, which I didn't do yet, but I'll do it now.
Tune in later.
And we tweet it and pin it immediately, and then we also try our best to get scores out. Honestly, we get our scores out, the games that we're physically at. I've noticed myself slacking at looking through the Twitter, so we'll have to. Tonight we're gonna up that game.
I forget to tweet like every time, or I'll tweet once and then forget to tweet the final.
It's tough. It's tough in baseball and softball because we're usually running back and forth between two fields, and so we don't know what's going on. Shout out to the haters that say we don't know what's going on, because in that instance. You're right. But Hunter's going to tell us a little bit about Fairfield. You really had to run because Fairfield was not playing at the same place last night.
Yeah, they did. Remember, they changed it.
Oh, because the softball fields are already at Burlington High School. Oh, that's lucky.
Yep.
Well, then you had a really rare time when Burlington hosted games both at Burlington High, but how'd they go for Fairfield?
Yeah, Fairfield softball. Obviously, mentioned earlier, Burlington number 9 in Class 4A. Tough one for Fairfield. Actually played pretty well against the Greyhounds. Ended up being an 8-3 loss in game 1 and then a 2-1 in that second one there. But in the opening game, Fairfield took an early 2-0 lead in the top of the first there, and then Burlington scored 5 of those 8 in the bottom half of that first inning there. Fairfield went scoreless through the second, and then Burlington tallied its 8th run in the bottom of the second there. So really Burlington was able to just kind of hang on the rest of the way. Fairfield did get one back in the third. But then the rest of the way, the Trojans had just one more hit through those final 4 innings there. So a tough one there. In the second game, it was pretty much competitive all the way through. Hence the looking at the 2-1 ending there. Burlington scored first in the bottom of the 4th, and then Fairfield answered back, tied it up in the top of the 5th there. And then Burlington got what would be the game-winning run in the bottom of the 5th. For that 2-1 victory. So, real nice, pretty good showing for the Trojans, if you're looking at, not looking at wins, losses, but number 9 ranked team. So Fairfield is now 3rd in the SEC. We kind of mentioned that. Washington, Burlington 5-0 in the conference, and the Trojans are now 4-5 overall after this pair of losses. So tough loss, but against a really good team, pretty close result.
You don't have a lot of teams that'll score runs off of Cody Engel. She pitched game 1, right?
Yep.
So that's shout out to the Burlington lineup. It seems like every single year Burlington has 9 hitters who hit the ball hard. So they're a pretty tough team to slow down. What about the Trojan baseball team?
Yeah, on the baseball side, really in the first game, got over there like right after the softball game. Got over there were still about 3 innings left. Early on, kind of Burlington controlled for the majority of the first half of the game. Really, it was 1-0 after the first inning. And then Burlington scored three more in the bottom of the 3rd. Fairfield went scoreless through the first 3 innings there, so it was 4-0 heading into the 4th. Fairfield got on the board, cut it to 4-2 after the top of the 4th, and then Burlington kind of, what would be pulled away. Fairfield showed some fight really, at the end. They scored 3 more. Burlington scored 3 more at the bottom of the 4th there, so it made it 7-2. After a scoreless 5th, Fairfield was able to get one back on the board there to make it 7-3, and then going into the 7th inning, they held the ground scoreless in the bottom of the 6th. Going into the 7th, Fairfield kind of began to rally. They got the bases loaded, and then Aiden Westerkamp scored Dane Burkhart, and then a couple Burlington errors really kind of went to Fairfield's favor there. They ended up scoring 2 runs on on a pair error. Well, I think one I think you could have. It was kind of one of those situations where you call it an RBI, do you call it an error, but. Cody Burleson got another run home, make it 7-5. But with the bases loaded, Aiden Kruger got up to the plate, hit a real nice shot to right field. But Burlington was able to kind of get to the ball, catch it for the third out. So tough loss there, 7-5. But some great fight shown by the Trojans in that one. Game 2 was a little bit different. Really back and forth at the start. Real nice start for the Trojans at the start of the game. Scored 3 runs. Tate Allen got on with an errant throw to first. Really got him to second because the ball went by the first baseman. Landon Nordiff in the next at bat brought Allen home after he stole third. And then he grounded out, so fielder's choice at first, and then Allen scored. And then third at bat of the game, Dane Murquhart single, little blooper over into right field. And then next at bat, Talon Bates, 2-run home run over the left field wall to give the Trojans an early 3-0 lead. But all in all, that proved to be the Trojans' last final hit in the game, final points scored in that game. Burlington answered back in the bottom of the inning with 3 runs. And then after a scoreless second, it was really kind of Burlington the rest of the way out. 2 runs in the third, 2 runs in the fourth. And then after a scoreless fifth, 6 runs by the Greyhounds in the bottom of the sixth. So, what started out as a real nice game at the plate kind of turned into a kind of sour one for them there. Mm-hmm. And the rest of the final 6 innings there. So 13-3 loss there, and Fairfield's now 6-8 overall and 2-1 in SEC play.
Yeah.
But they get another chance at Burlington on Thursday, and like we mentioned, that kind of 2-3 spot right now is really anyone's game.
For sure. 2-3 in SEC play. I don't think it's updated on varsity.
Yeah, 2-3.
Yeah, I saw Fairfield play the other day. They lost a 1-run game against Moravia, had the bases loaded with 1 out. Maybe no outs. They were down 6-4 coming in and only ended up scoring 1. And so I mentioned to Coach Josh Allison that they seem to be a glutton for close games because I remember they played a lot of close games earlier. I just counted them up. They've played 13 games, I believe, and 7 of them have been 2 runs or less. So Fairfield is our cardiac team as far as playing games that are close. So as you mentioned, Fairfield's got Burlington at home on Thursday, and then next week the big games against Washington. So Fairfield's got a Thursday-Friday games, by the way. They also got Centrally on Friday night.
And I didn't put it in the story because the game's tonight, but they will play at Williamsburg tonight, at Williamsburg.
Oh, and at Williamsburg tonight, yeah. So busy schedule.
Yep. And Williamsburg's a very good team.
Yeah, they're one of the powers. So Fairfield's got a pretty darn good non-conference schedule, along with a couple of our better teams that we cover, like Pekin and Van Buren County. They played Moravia was 9-3 going into that game the other day, and they played Eddyville and Muscatine and Oski and Grinnell. So they do a good job of bolstering that schedule with the best team, the best teams in the area, which kind of makes sense because Fairfield's one of the better baseball programs in the area. So that's all we got for big school baseball, softball. What do you think about the new schedule? Because they've switched it up. It used to be doubleheaders. It used to be, let's say, Fairfield and Mount Pleasant would play a doubleheader in early June and then a doubleheader at the other place in late June or early July. Now it's just a straight-up 3-game series, two home and 1 away, or 2 away, 1 home. Do you like it? Oh, you seem like you don't like it.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel.
I don't know how I feel either.
I feel like I get from like the team's perspective of like being able to like just focus on like kind of one team, I guess, from like looking at it that way. But like, I don't know. There's something about, I feel like you're a completely different team if you wait to play them later on. You can be a completely different team.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? Feel like that's the way I think about it. It's like, why not like let them play again when they've got more games under their belt instead of just wrapping it up in the first.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the way I think about it.
I think so I'll give you 2 goods and then 2 bads. First, the goods is I think that one good thing is that it feels like an actual series and you can't just get lucky with your pitching rotation.
That's a good point.
Because sometimes in the past it would be like, let's just say Fort Madison and Washington are the 2 best baseball teams.
Yeah.
And then their schedule might kind of pan out where it's just whoever's best pitchers are ready.
Every time.
You know? So you get your ace pitching twice. This makes you do 3 different starting pitchers, and so everything's kind of even. And then the other positive, these are both baseball positives, is that I think the doubleheader situation where you played 2 on Monday and 2 on Thursday against different teams, then you wasted 4 pitchers in your non-conference games you're throwing whoever has an arm left.
I like that point.
Yeah, and then and on the bad side, exactly what you just said as far as like Mount Pleasant and Washington won't play for the rest of the year. That feels really weird because it's a rival and they played immediately and they won't play again.
Right.
Unless the baseball teams play in the postseason, I guess. And then one bad that someone told me is that if it gets a little chippy on Monday or Tuesday, whenever that first game is, like, hey, it's like, here we go. You gotta get these kids away from each other for 2 days, and they're coming right back at each other. And I was like, that's a very good point, because that does happen when it gets hot, and hasn't happened too much in any game I haven't been in so far. But what they should also make sure they have the exact same umps. That way things get chippy with the umps. That way everyone is just still heated from a couple days.
Right. I remember everything that happened.
But one more positive, it's that we don't have to show up at 5:30 on Thursdays to cover games because we have 7 to 8 games. So a couple hours so for us guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, positive. And speaking of positives,
it doesn't really bother me that much. Long story short, but I was just
I don't really.
I was just trying to think of something like positive.
I like to embrace debate.
Right.
We embrace debate. Are you going to stick around for this next commercial break? Hopefully you will, because we got some small school baseball and softball action on Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk, powered by Fairway.
Family owned and operated by Andy and Sarah Ross, Ross Auto has been your vehicle repair and maintenance headquarters since 1935. We specialize in all makes of cars and light-duty trucks. With our variety of available services, let us help you keep rolling and your vehicle operating efficiently. Services include general auto repair, alignments, brakes, fuel injection, and more. Schedule your appointment today at 319-653-5656. That's 319-653-5656. Bring the kids and share the memories from steam engines, antique cars and trucks, tractors, gas engines, and horses. Maybe your memories are of great food from the North Village to the Log Village, or going to one of the amazing concerts. This is the place where memories are made. Make plans now to enjoy the history of the past at the 2023 Midwest Old Thrashers Reunion, August 31st through September 4th in Mount Pleasant. Visit oldthrashers.com for more details.
At 5 Star Community Credit Union, we want to help you lead a better life. We offer competitive rates and convenient appointment times for all kinds of loans: auto, recreational vehicles, home equity line of credit, holiday, and personal loans. We make it easy to build your credit and enjoy the good things in life.
We invite you to join 5 Star Community Credit Union. We are community-minded and member-focused. Come visit our locations in West Burlington and Mount Pleasant or online at 5starcu.org. Federally insured through the NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
At Brown Shoe Fit, we pride ourselves on traditional sit and fit service that's been serving the Mount Pleasant area since 1952. At Brown's, we have shoes for the whole family. From kids to adults, we carry the finest footwear for every occasion. Whether you're looking for something for work, casual wear, or exercise, we've got you covered. And don't forget about our selection of safety toe footwear for both men and women. Come visit us 6 days a week and experience the best in traditional sit and fit service. Brown Shoe Fit, where quality and tradition meet.
Welcome back. Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk. Live, unless you're watching this on replay. We are powered by Fairway. I almost said we are powered by Fairway. We're powered by Fairway. What would Fairway be? Would just be a store with only pears?
Fairway?
Yeah.
Like yeah, probably.
Yeah, just all pears.
Fairway. I mean, parrot came to my head, but then I'm like, no, that didn't.
If you worked there, you knew that no one would come up to you and be like, "Oh, I don't know where this thing is that I'm looking for," because everyone's looking for pears.
I like it.
Thanks. Powered by Fairway. We're going to go through here the small school baseball and softball from last night. We'll go baseball first. number one team in Class 2A, and defending Class 2A semifinalists from last year, Mid-Prairie. 2 more wins last night. Potentially the class of the River Valley. I can't say that yet because I haven't played everybody, but Mid-Prairie 8-1 over Wilton and 11-1 over Wilton. What makes Mid-Prairie scary, Hunter, is that starting rotation.
Yep.
And Brock Harlan, complete game in game 1, strikes out 8 batters, and then Colin Miller, complete game in game 2, strikes out 12 batters. So 20 struck out Beavers over that doubleheader, and only 2 pitchers used for the Golden Hawks. Pretty darn good. Carson Grout was 4 for 4 with a double and 2 RBIs in game 2. Keota drops one to North Masca 9-6. A couple of RBIs each for Dalton Dodd, Billy Kindred, and Aiden McGuire in that one. Van Buren County and Pekin went at it in a Union area clash.
Yep.
Van Buren County is now 9-1 on the season after a 12-7 victory over Pekin. Jackson Manning, huge game, 3 for 3 with a double and 4 RBIs, and Isaac Leffler, also a huge game, 4 for 5 with 2 RBIs there for the Warriors. Dylan Richardson picks up the win on the mound. New London back on the winner's circle. They've had a little tough time, kind of in a rebuilding year a little bit after the state championship last year, but 6-2 winners over Lone Tree, a team that I'll watch in Winfield tonight.
Yep.
Just a few hours. Gavin Minke Bailey gets the win on the mound there, gives up 2 runs over 6 innings. Hillcrest in Mediapolis. Hillcrest has not lost a game, 6-0 after a 9-6 win over Mediapolis last night. They were in a little trouble, 4-0 after the top of the first. Didn't matter, 5 in the first, and then just kind of kept spreading out runs after that. Josiah Beachy gets the win on the mound, also goes 2 for 3 with a double and 3 RBIs. Jace Rimple, 2 RBIs. Seth Hours, 3 for 4 with an RBI, and Grant Bender had a double and an RBI for the Ravens as well. And then Winfield Mount Union Columbus / Columbus, who I will be watching very shortly. Had a 4-3 lead over Central Lee last night. Didn't last, unfortunately. Central Lee 13, Winfield Mount Union 5. Those were all Southeast Iowa Union Super Conference crossover games, north versus south. So that's all we got for baseball. What we got for softball?
Yeah, on the softball side, we mentioned Van Buren playing Pekin. Van Buren, the Warriors down the Panthers in both games last night. First game 11-1, second game 12-0. Leading the Warriors in the game, Kylie Rowan had 3 hits, 2 RBIs in the win. For Pekin, Paisley Coleman had 2 hits. In the second game, as I mentioned, 12-0. For Van Buren, Ashlyn Huff had 3 hits, 1 RBI for Van Buren. And then Callie Craddock had 2 RBIs, 2 hits. And then Riley Cavaness finished with a pair of hits and 1 RBI in that one as well. For Mid-Prairie, tough night for the Mid-Prairie Golden Hawks on the softball field. They fall in a pair to Wilton, 4-2 in the first one and 11-6 in the second. Mid-Prairie led 1-0 after the third, and then the Beavers went on to score 3 in the fourth for the lead there. They came within 3-2 after 1 run in the fifth, but Wilton closed it out with one of its own in the sixth, and they could never get back on top in that one. Dakota Mitchell, 2 RBIs for the Golden Hawks in that one. Madeline Schrader, 2 hits. Sydney Nebel threw a complete game, giving up 4 runs, 2 earned on 7 hits and 3 strikeouts in the second. The Beavers led 4-3 heading into the third, and they went on to score 2 in both the third and the fourth inning, along with another 3 in the sixth for the victory there. Mitchell and Nebel each had 2 hits with 2 RBIs in that loss there. And then Cadence Grout pitched 6 innings, giving up 11 runs, only 5 earned out of that 11 on 9 hits, 6 walks, 5 strikeouts. Lone Tree, New London, 15-3 over New London. Tigers looking for, I believe, their second win still on the season. Natalie Burton, Morgan Jones, Sophie Malott each had 1 hit in that game. Megan Lee threw 4 in 4.2 innings, allowing 15 runs, 7 earned on 13 hits, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. And then Hillcrest Academy falls to Mediapolis. The Mediapolis scored 8 runs in the opening 3 frames there. And then, Ravens could just really never come back in that one. They scored 3 in the third and 2 in the fifth there, but obviously, it wasn't enough there. And then Keota falls 15-2 to North Mahaska. Keota was down just 3-1 after the first inning, but the Warhawks went on to score 12 in the next 4 innings there. So, yeah, that's all we got for softball. A couple of big wins there for Van Buren, and then a couple tough losses for Mid-Prairie, New London, and Hillcrest Academy and Keota.
For sure, and we got some stuff to run out to tonight. If you guys are at Pekin at Columbus, Hunter will be there, 6 o'clock. Pekin at Columbus.
Dash Waco.
Slash
Waco.
Slash Waco at 6 o'clock, a nice Union area clash. And then I'm going to be at Winfield Mount Union / Columbus. They're playing the Tree tonight, Lone Tree. And then Winfield - Mount Union will be playing Lone Tree as well. Columbus is not with them, obviously, because you're watching them in a totally different town.
Right.
So, so see you there. Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk presented by Fairway and all our lovely sponsors. We'll be back next week, Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Oh, I gave away our thing. We'll be back. You can say next week this time.
No, it's all right. We'll be back. We'll see you when?
Next week.
Next week.